Ah, and we're on. Hey everybody, I just got my own message, my own alert that it's time for an update video. Trying to do these once a week now. Wow. Yeah. Clearly it's the end of the day and I am not really camera ready, and this is part of my true selfie kind of experience where I like to do not just things when I'm having a good hair day, but just when I look like a normal freaking well, I always look like a normal freaking person. But anyway, I have some pretty cool stuff to report to you, to be honest. I'm sitting here making flashcards as I'm trying to catch up on all my social media stuff for the day. I've been at work today and then had a lovely dinner with some friends, and yeah, so let me summarize a few things that have happened. I have a new accountability buddy, which I'll just briefly tell you about. I don't want to infringe on his privacy, but it's a pretty important thing that I've been meaning to tool and skill and partnership that I've been wanting to do for a while. So that's one. Two is that I've started a new study tracking system. Three is I've started new flashcards. And four, I have a picture to show you of what I'm too lazy to go into the other room to get the thing, but I have a picture I need to show you about my new reading materials. So let's do this. Okay, so I over the past year or so, let's just say year, so I don't feel guilty for not being more fluent than I am. Occasionally when people would say, hey, I'm studying Chinese too, blah, 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 I'd say, oh, how long have you been doing it? Hey, do you want to kind of be an accountability buddy and just kind of check in with each other and see what we're doing and share stuff? But I'm guessing because I was a manic idiot last year with like crazy plans that nobody really took me up on it. But something clicked this year, and it was funny because it clicked just during I think it was a 2-month period where I was almost doing nothing. Literally since the HSK test in December, I started and stopped studying. I wasn't really quite sure what I wanted to do next. Made plans, didn't do them, made plans, didn't do them, made so many different monthly, weekly, daily plans, didn't do them, did some, didn't do them. I mean, it's just really crazy, and you've seen a few of those in these videos, and a lot of you actually sent me some pretty cool ideas, and that's part of the next things that are going to happen that I'm going to show you. So I have an accountability buddy. Somebody finally said yes, and so on social media we've been going back and forth. It took a little while for either one of us to start studying again, but it actually worked, and the stakes were raised. Man, when he finally started studying and was doing his plan every day, I was like, wait, no, my turn. And so it got me back on track. It was really crappy at first because it's not that I'd forgotten, because most of my stuff was just recognition, not production based anyway. So it's not that I forgot a lot of stuff. I don't know why I'm holding this and I don't have my selfie here. My selfie stick. Anyway, that's fine. Sorry. But the pressure was on in a really good way. So truth be told, it's been working great. We've been going back with messages on what we've been doing, and we're both, it sounds like we're both on track again, which is so cool. So I have a list of different things that I want to do. I'm still going to keep doing the HSK stuff because I feel like the vocabulary that's in there, albeit the sentences, the conversations, are iffy. The structures, the grammatical structures, I think are ones that I keep seeing in places, so I think that's good. Their descriptions suck, but I'll fix that later when I see them in the wild in the other places I'm going to show you. But I've got a list of different things I want to do, and then I started to do a productivity list. Instead of actually mapping out what I want to do every day, I was just going to write it down when I did it instead, and then I'd still see that I was doing it. But it only took 2 days of doing that for me to just wake up, grab my materials, throw them in my bag, and do them at some point during the day. So I don't actually think I need a list now of things I want to do that day. I just keep doing a chapter a day of the HSK stuff, and that seems to work fine. It's all review at this point. I haven't gotten back to the HSK4. I haven't really begun the HSK4 stuff yet, but that's fine with me. So I'm working on I'm reading off my list now, which is hard. The flashcards going from Chinese to English, I've made new ones going from English to Chinese because I think that'll help me type like produce the language via typing a lot faster. It'll probably work with speaking too, but that's more on the structures that I don't have in my head, which means the more the full sentences. The HSK book I'm still going to do, but even though I'm doing a chapter a day in review in order to catch up with the flashcards, once that's done for all 3 units, I'm not going to do every day with HSK. I'm going to slow that down. I also have a few variety shows that some folks have given me, and a teen drama. I have such a soft spot for teen drama, like coming of age stuff. A Chinese one with subtitles that Tom from Tom Reads gave me recently. And I recently, this is very exciting, interviewed him for Changing Scripts. He'll show up in a few months on there. I'm a little ahead of schedule with interviewing because I can't shut the heck up. So yeah, you'll see him coming up soon. It was a really good chat. He's so motivated and so nice and so freaking intelligent. So thank you, Tom, for that interview. Okay, so writing practice, I've decided no, I'm not going to do it by hand. I was thinking about that again. I'm going to do it via text message because that's where I'm going to be using the language, is in a typed form. So we're back to that. So I already told you about the variety shows. And then I want to focus more on grammatical patterns. In the HSK chapters, I don't think I'm going to review each chapter. I was going to do each level every month until I just fell over of boredom. I'm already falling over with boredom. So I'm just going to do them one more time through after I'm done with the flashcards. I'm going to go through one more time, and I'm going to take out the grammatical structures in a full sentence example form, and I'm going to have them on a cheat sheet. And when I see them in my new materials, I'm going to pause videos and look on the sheet when I recognize them, and I'm going to review it. And I might actually pick examples from the variety shows and the new reading material and pull them over into the cheat sheets. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to focus more on sentences and flip words in and out of the sentences in order to get more in my head, because I have a lot of words still. Not a lot, but for me, I think 600-700 words is a lot in a language, especially when it looks as cool as Han's characters do, but I want to get full sentences in there too. And one of the examples, I'm sorry if I don't remember names of people who give me suggestions, I suck, but I promise to do better in the future with that. But on the YouTube, well, on this channel, sorry, somebody suggested reading a book I know in Chinese. And I've heard this before, but there was something about it that really rung true for me this time. I feel like I was ready. It's going to take a dictionary, a lot of circling of words I don't know, and a lot of looking at my grammatical structures sheet to understand what's happening in each sentence. But I like the idea that you already know the story, so you're just focused on the language. I like that idea. And I've been meaning to reread one of my childhood favorite books, A Wrinkle in Time. Yes, this is a cheesy picture of me with my new book series. One of the first book series that I loved as a kid, as a preteen, from Madeline Leneagle. I found them in Chinese. I couldn't even just get the first one, A Wrinkle in Time. I had to get the full series. I'm not even sure, looking at all, 5 or 6 books? I'm not even sure I've read all of them in English. So once I get past the first few, because I know I read 3. I definitely remember 3. A Wrinkle in Time, something, Swiftly Tilting Planet. And after the 3rd one, I just don't know. I might have to read the English ones before I read the Chinese ones at that point. But I'm really excited about that. So again, it's a story I know and love. Meg, the main teenage character, is such a misfit and such a wonderful, wonderful person. And she comes into her own in this series in a way, and she finds love, and she has a wonderful family with curious scientific parents who are quirky as all heck. I mean, I just love the story. Love the story. I so wanted to just transport myself into her life and be her as a kid. I was just like, that's a lovely existence, minus the awkwardness and feeling like a misfit. That part I got. That part I got. So anyway, so I'm back on track. I don't know when I'm going to start reading A Wrinkle in Time. I imagine I'll probably read, I don't know. You know what? I have to start reading it to get an idea of how much I can read at any given point. And I will need Pleco, my Chinese dictionary, the app, the Chinese dictionary app. The Chinese dictionary app you should have. I'll need that near me, and I'll need my grammatical structures cheat sheet near me. But I don't have that ready yet, but I want to start reading soon. So, I don't know. Probably not for the next couple of days because I'm working a lot. Or I could bring it tomorrow and preview it during lunch and see what I think. The font size is beautiful. It's not giant, font size like I used to cheat sometimes. After my eye problems started, I would go to the library in the US and get the kind of, what did they even call it? I don't know what they called it, but it was a special font size that was super big, and I could read that without glasses. That was beautiful. And anywhere in any lighting. I don't see those here. But it's not the super tiny 2-point font size that you see in some Chinese textbooks. So it's somewhere in between, and with my glasses, I should be okay in good lighting. So I'm pretty happy to have a text that I love, a story that I love, with language that I want to be able to get into my head and use in a more frequent basis. There's a lot of conversation in this book, and it's sci-fi, so there's going to be terminology that I'll probably never use again. There's made-up terminology that Madeline L'Engle made up for the storyline, so that won't be usable. I don't care. I make up words all the time anyway, and I don't remember them a lot of the times later. It's only when people point out to me that I've made up a word instead of it already existing or using something that could have fit there that I realize I've made up a word. I don't know. Anyway, so that's pretty cool. So that's my update. Is that all the things I told you? Oh, yeah, see, I don't edit these, and, I told you 3 things. 1 was the accountability buddy, 2 is the resources. 3 was what I'm studying, and 3 were the resources, and that's the book and the variety shows, which I can't pronounce the names of yet, but that'll come with time. Oh, sorry, I probably won't do the variety shows because I did preview a few of those. Now that I remember, I previewed a few, and there's literally text all over the screen. They have text at the bottom here, the regular, just tiny, tiny white subtitles right down at the bottom here, as there's people joking around in the show, and they're flipping between one person and another. And then there was text going down this way, and over this way, and then occasionally in the middle of the screen in gigantic Hanzi characters this way. And I know I should just be looking at the one on the bottom because that's the conversation one, but that's just too much visually for me in the language that I want to see. So my eyes just kept floating all around the page. It was very similar to a lot of Chinese websites where there's just too much at once, and I don't know what to ignore yet. So I think the teen drama is going to be much more my speed. So I think I'm going to go with that. The teen drama, the fiction book that I already know, at least the first few books in the series, the HSK vocabulary and grammar structures. I don't think I'm going to do HSK 3 materials that much longer, 321. I think the next time through is going to be the last time through for a long time, and then I'll venture into HSK 4. I still haven't obviously figured out how much per day, how much per week of each thing, but the excitement of having people attached to the language, attached to the stories, attached to emotions, those kinds of things, that's something that hasn't really been in the language for me yet. So it'd be interesting to see how that goes, if that helps or not. If it's enough review of the vocabulary for me to learn it, because I'm not very good with just hearing something first, or even reading it in a subtitle first. I need to see it again. So I don't know if I'm going to have to make flashcards from the stuff that I'm reading. I don't know what's going to happen with all this, but I'm excited to try something new that has stories that I like. So there you go. I guess I'm going into story mode in every facet of my life. If you follow Expat Rewind, you'll see an entire video of me talking about being a reluctant storyteller in my podcasts. Yeah, so story seems to be the theme of the year for me, so I'm going to be telling stories, asking questions to my guests to tell their own stories, and I will be reading stories and watching stories in order to learn a language. I'm feeling like a redundant person, and you know what? That's fine. If it gets me to the point where I can actually use a second language without, with the ability to communicate and without massive mental strain or sounding like a 2-year-old, fine. Let's just do it. Whatever works. Whatever friggin' works. How is your language learning going? What are you studying? How long have you been studying it? And not in a guilty way, just in a good job for sticking with it kind of way. Because I'm coming up on 2 years and I don't feel like I've learned that much at this point. Mostly because I haven't been studying as much. I've only been back on track for about a week now. So, yeah. How you doing? How your language doing? And if, by chance, you are learning or have learned or grew up with Mandarin Chinese and would like to be interviewed for the Changing Scripts podcast, I don't care how far ahead I am with the interviews, I would love to talk to you too. So contact me and we'll get you on the podcast. Because this is part of a PodTube. PodTube. What's a PodTube? PodTube is part podcast, part YouTube channel. This YouTube channel is about my awkward and slow, but moving forward progress in learning to read Mandarin Chinese. The podcast is where I talk to other two groups of folks. One group is people like me who are learning the language later on in life. And the other group of folks are the people who grew up with Mandarin Chinese and learned other languages, especially English, because that's the conversation, that's the language of the conversation that I'm able to have at this point. So, yeah, so if you haven't checked out the podcast yet, I'll have the link down in the show notes, and if you are studying or know how to use Mandarin Chinese, grew up with it, that kind of thing, contact me. We'll get you on the podcast. Would love to have your language learning story be available for other people to get inspired by. All right. Thank you to my accountability buddy. Again, I'm going to leave his privacy where it is, and I'm not going to tell you many details about our connection, but I'll tell you breakthroughs that I have, thanks to the inspiration of keeping going with having such a wonderful accountability buddy. If anybody else wants an accountability buddy, you know where to find me. If nothing else, down in the comment section below, everywhere else. Steph Fuccio is my handle. Literally everywhere, even on Facebook, although I have to admit I'm barely on there. but you can contact me initially there if you need to. Thank you so much for watching, and more soon. I should probably learn how to say that in Chinese too. 再见.